Welcome back to the. I don't know why it's so big. I think it's because of the mic. Welcome back to the Gametime Greatness podcast. I'm your co-host Brandon Scott. Along here with me is
Jake Vassar, Vice President.
And today we are bringing you another thrilling, high-paced Gametime Greatness podcast.
It's game time. Game time. Game time. We winning, we winning, we winning, we winning. It's game time. Game time.
All right. So I'll go ahead and kick us off. We have some big GG news. 5, 6, maybe 6 years ago, everyone started taking trips to different locations and to visit different football fields. And this year it has been decided by the board, aka me and Brandon, we are going to go to a Detroit Lions and Packers game at Detroit.
We didn't consult with anybody. This is just a trip we decided Ashley's coming to. So it's just going to be whoever wants to come can come. You can bring your females, however you want to do it. If it's just us three, cool. If you guys want to come visit where Jake's living and visit the great city of Detroit, as we know it all is very glammed up, then everybody.
Clarification, I do not live in Detroit. I live in Kalamazoo, the GOAT. But anyway, so I'm going to fly through these details real quick, just so everyone kind of knows, because we do need to make decisions and buy tickets at NOAA. We're going to buy them early this year.
No, we're not. We're waiting till the day before for sure.
So the game is on November 6th. That's Sunday. And we're thinking either people fly in Thursday or Friday. And really that'll depend on how many people decide to come. If we have less than 5, we'll probably just do Thursday. But if there's more, it might be easier for everyone to get there Friday. Where we'll stay is my house. And again, if there's a bunch of people, which probably won't happen, we'll go ahead and just get an Airbnb. But right now, my place, and then my Y, because it's awesome. And these trips are always super fun, even if they're not in the best spots. Like Detroit, when are you going to come to the Midwest again? So come on up. Michigan's awesome. I live here right now. It'll be freezing by then. And yeah, so it'll be really fun.
Go back, go. All right. Well, finishing up that and moving on to our next point of discussion is just the hype that is around Gametime Greatness heading into GG12. I have to say, and I've heard it from multiple people, you included right before when we were chatting, this season, there's been that slow, steady buildup, that drumbeat, getting closer to the season. Everyone's getting hyped. I mean, we've seen preseason. We've had everybody else has probably had their fantasy draft by now, unless you're waiting to the last weekend, which is what we're doing, obviously, injuries. But people that normally don't care that much about our league, I feel like are really trying. Jacob, what have you seen in terms of that department?
Man, so every week someone in the GM will be like, hey, let's do a mock, or it'll just float up in the Discord. And so that right there says enough. So this past weekend I spent with Jarvis and he asked me to do a mock. Now, maybe that's because he's picking right before me at 7, but maybe he was just super interested. And he even set up a mock and put it public. We had 12 people live. He was the commissioner for the mock. It was so funny. But yeah, I mean, I feel like everyone's pretty locked in this year.
It's pretty crazy too, because I felt like it was really predictable. And while I still think it is a little predictable what's going to happen in the first round, like it's going to be a crazy draft. Everything's going to change on draft night. Like we think, well, you know what's going to happen. And then one pick out of place and everything goes chaos. We feel like Grant gets all the steals and then his team still sucks and he doesn't make playoffs. You know how it goes.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I've walked through the scenarios in round 1 probably 5 times, and every single time it's different. There's so many things. Like if Mike doesn't take Justin Jefferson, the whole world's gonna burn down. No one has a clue what he's doing if he doesn't take J. Jeff. But of course he will. But
that's if he's there.
Okay, what is he? Is he being
that would actually be the world burning down, as if somebody sniped J. Jeff. Last thing I'll touch on before we move on to the next one is just, I know 1 or 2 people have been like, oh, let's do a mock. And then all of a sudden, like, we'll post in the Discord and like 6 people are in the mock draft. I'm like, why don't we just draft? Like, why are we doing a mock draft with 6 people in this? And it's like, you can tell some of the people are being honest and you can tell some of the people are just picking random players, seeing who the other people draft. And it's like, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you're prepared, you should be ready with a variety of people. You shouldn't be locked into one person. Although I'm guilty of that in past years. I'm like, round 5, Deontay Johnson, he's mine. Nobody touch him. And then he gets drafted and I'm like, meltdown.
Okay, and lastly, we sent out
most importantly,
we sent out a survey last week, and the results are in. I just want to give credit for the league. Everyone responds in a very timely manner now. I think we had the results in like an hour.
I think it's because people also love the surveys. Like they love bashing other people and they love hearing about them in the podcast. So I think that's why we have such good high participation.
People just like me, like hearing their name during the podcast. And if you fill out the survey, you hear your name. But let's go ahead and get into it. So the first 5 questions are a matter of how much money you would receive over a fantasy championship. And this was Brennan's idea, and it is hilarious to see where everyone stands.
I'll start off with number 1 real quick. Have to say, if you didn't answer this question correctly, you may have been booted from the league. I mean, like all the rest, I'll give you a pass. But come on, question 1, like that shows your dedication. Go ahead and read off the question.
Would you rather receive $10 or have a GG championship? And everyone selected GG championship. And I think that is a clear, correct answer.
Here, I think this one, people are going to think we're crazy outside of people outside of the league are going to think we're crazy. But let me preface this by saying we don't play for money. Winner gets $0. The second question was, would you rather receive a gift of $100 or win a GG championship? And 91% said they'd rather have a GG championship. Jake, who was the one? Put him on blast.
Yeah, Jackson Jarvis.
And I don't know if he told me this separately, but he basically said, I've already done it once. How hard can it be?
Oh, come on.
And I was like, I guess fair enough. But only one person would rather have $100 than the GG championship. And that's the guy who currently has the trophy at his house. And thank you, Jackson, for being a responsible human. Cole Bennett and Ethan Wright, this is a blast for you guys being children and not knowing how to engrave, even though we would have paid you to go do it. Jarvis didn't do it out of his own money, came out of the GG funds. Like, but thank you, Jarvis, for getting that engraved.
And thank you, Ethan, for investing the GG fund into Bitcoin. That's why we have so much money to spend. All right, so moving on to the next tier. Would you rather, $1,000 or a GG championship?
This is where there's a lot of people outside of the league. They're going to think we're actually brainwashed. 54%, which I'm not sure how that's possible because I'm looking at it and there's only 11 responses on this question. Every other question has 12 responses. So one person couldn't decide, I guess.
That was Parker.
I got Parker said, if Alex hears that, I'd rather have $1,000. She's gonna hate me. But 6 people said 54% said they'd rather have $1,000 than GG championship. Jake, I think you were in the $1,000.
I was.
And just talk a little bit about that.
This is my first time reading. I'm gonna read out the group and then I'll express my
read
thoughts.
off the people.
So of course Jarvis, and then me, Grant, Noah, Matthew, and we're gonna say Parker was a yes, and Cole Bennett. $1,000. See, now that I'm on the podcast, I should probably say no. I'd rather win. Like
that's just for your fantasy season, though. You'd rather have 1,000.
Yeah, I'd rather have 1,000. You can do a lot. You can have a lot of fun with $1,000.
I'm gonna speak on this real quick because I chose GG championship. That may sound crazy, and this may be coming from a very privileged point of view, but $1,000 doesn't change your life. A Gametime Greatness Championship does. So, Jake,
you're saying I live a terrible life because I've never won.
I'm just saying you win your first championship, your life will be changed. So $1,000, I mean, that's fun. I mean, it's going to be like a fun trip, or like you're going to invest it or something fun, but like a GG championship changes your life. I'm just going to say your name's on the trophy forever. With inflation, that's like $100,000.
Okay, the next level is $10,000. We only had one person say they would win. They would rather win than $10,000.
2.
And I'm actually shocked because this person has won before.
It was 2 people.
2.
Colin Christian.
Oh, my bad. Wow. Okay, CC's buying in. CC's all the way in.
I would say both of these players, if they had $10,000 in front of them, would take $10,000. That is a life-changing amount of money, right? Like that's nice used car, maybe not market, but
not to get political, but according to Biden, it will literally change your life.
So $10,000, it can forgive your student loans. Like $10,000 is a lot of money. You know, thousands like something, but 10,000 is different. I went with the 10,000. I had 2 GG championships already, so 10,000, I'd rather have that. So, but Mike and Cece, props to you guys. I hope if I'm not in the championship, I hope it's Mike and Cece.
I actually agree. I agree. Okay, moving on. Also, we have 9 minutes and 30 seconds left on this meeting because I guess if you don't have a full Zoom account.
Good thing we're going to crank through it. No big.
Yeah.
So I had a would you rather, and it's interesting because to be respected in game time greatness, we generally look at who makes the playoffs. We'll get into it later, but Jake's one of the more respected players in the league, never won a championship. So the question was, would you rather win the toilet bowl, so get last place this year and make the championship the next? So Jarvis better voted for it because this is literally him. Or make the playoff the next 5 years, but win no championship. 75%, 9 of the 12 voted for win the toilet bowl this year and win the championship the next. They'd rather have the all or nothing. 3 players chose make the playoffs, but win no championship. Jake, who are those 3?
So I was one of them.
Really?
Matt was one of them, and Mike was one of them.
Would you rescind that now, or would you still go with that?
I think I would go with it because that is like that explains me. I don't know what my playoff streak is, but it's up there, and like I feel like people think I'm good at fantasy even though I haven't won, and I'm probably the only one who hasn't won that people think is good.
Shots fired.
So I'm not sure what Matt and Mike are doing. Mike won. I don't know. Like I have fun playing fantasy even though I haven't won, and it's kind of like to win would like close the whole circle for me, and so that's like I don't know. I also just don't like to lose, and getting last place is humiliating. So I would be more content getting second every year than last.
You've been in the toilet bowl, so you kind of have a little bit of perspective. I think your one bad year you were in it, so like you have more perspective than most. Like I've never had a year, like I've had some bad years, but I've never had one of those years that you and Matt had that year. So I can't really relate to how it is being that bad. So to me, I'm like, yeah, I'd take that for the championship. So maybe I haven't experienced a fully, like when I'm bad, I'm mediocre. Like I'm like, oh, my team is so sad. Like last year was agonizing for me because I watched Brandon Cooks get 4 catches for 50 yards, and that was the highlight of my week. Like, let's go 9 points. It's like versus like when you're a good team, you're rooting for like, oh man, Stephon Diggs only had 2 touchdowns this week. He should have had the 3rd.
It's funny you say that too, because maybe that's why Matt put he would rather make playoffs for 5 years but no championship, because he's been the king of the toilet.
That was the worst year I've ever seen anybody have. That was
that team's terrible. If I would have lost that game, that would have been. I would have rather died on that flight.
This next question is pretty fun. It's what thing that you love / enjoy would you go up for a year to win a championship? List your name first and then what you would give up, and also. Shame on me and Jake. Neither of us listed our name like the question asked, but the rest of you who did our sheep.
CC was first. Hey, also nice CC, first one to fill out the survey. Good for you. He said he would give up his left nut, so he'd give up kids,
but not his right nut. So I mean, how much does he really care?
Yeah, true.
All right, Jarvis said nothing too major. I went from last one season to first the next, so it can't be that hard to win. That must be where I pulled that earlier.
I was next. I'd give up Chipotle. I'd give up my Aggie ring for a year, only for a year. And like me, I couldn't wear it. I'd give up wings. I've done that before. Lemonade, sweet tea, and I would give up live football.
I thought about that, and I'm like, would you give up Texas? Would you give up watching Texas A&M for a full year to win?
Dang, that's hard. Maybe I should have put live NFL. Nah, but that
defeats the purpose. Like fantasy is so fun when you can watch the football.
Maybe I meant football.
All right, Grant said the fantasy footballers. So I mean, the next year he'd be pretty bad at fantasy.
Ethan gave up sugar. I'd be skinny and a champion.
I love that, Ethan, honestly. I think this was me. I said diet sodas and fast food. I don't really eat fast food. I was kind of thinking of what to put. I ate Chipotle, so I'd give up Chipotle. I'd give up any form of. Basically, this was hard for me because I'd pretty much give up any form of food for a year's not that long of a time. I'd give up pretty much anything.
Noah put playing softball with Ethan. Huge sacrifice there, Noah.
You've already fired him like 3 times off your team, but huge sacrifice. Matt said Whataburger.
Mike has nothing, but I'm going to say he'd give up that $10,000. Parker has pizza.
Zach said his car, and then Cole had my favorite of the bunch.
Gluten-free bread.
Gluten-free bread. This guy wouldn't be able to eat.
Very, very bended answer, and that is actually a huge sacrifice from him. So that's hilarious.
He wouldn't be able to eat anything, so he'd be really shredded after the year.
Yeah, everyone just gave up things that would make their lives probably better in some way.
All right, the moment everyone's been waiting on, the 2 questions that people came to this podcast to watch. Who do you think are the best 3 players in our league? Do not vote for yourself. I didn't check to see if anyone voted for themselves, but if you did, shame. I was chatting with Colin, Christian, and Zach. We were playing some Rocket League one night. I was like, how many votes do you guys think you got for the best player in the league? And they both were like, probably none. Like, they were all salty. And then I also asked them, how many votes do you got for the worst? But we'll get into that in a second. But Zach and Colin, you were both tied. There's 4 people down here. So Zach and Colin, you have 0 votes. Sorry to break it to you.
The other 2 were Parker and Mike.
Interesting that only one of those people has a fantasy championship, but again, I'd say most people would say it's a fluke. I know you would, considering you lost to him.
Agreed.
But I think he's going to be offended. I mean, the dude's won a championship. If you won a championship and you get 0 votes, you're going to be a little offended.
Yeah, I'd be pissed.
Do you want to announce the next one, or do you want me to? Do you see who's next? Because this person's so angry.
Up next was Ethan, and tied with him was Matt. And both of them received 1 vote. So I'm really pointing at Ethan right now because he has 2 championships, but he received 1 vote out of 36 votes because every person had 3 votes. So
he's going to be absolutely fuming right now because, I mean, he's down here with all the people that don't have championships. I mean, Matt doesn't have a championship and he's tied with him. Ethan has 2.
Yeah, I'm trying to go back and look at who voted for him because they're about to be best friends. It's probably himself. Oh no, it was you.
I did vote for Ethan. I think Ethan has some down years, but I mean, I respect his game.
I think he's good. He's up and down.
This is gonna make him feel even worse. Ethan feel even worse. Jarvis is voted with 2 votes. Oh man, that's gonna make some people mad. But I mean, so I'm sure there's at least some recency bias going on.
Recency bias for sure. Up next is Grant with 3 votes. I'm actually shocked. I thought Grant would have a lot more.
I think people have cooled down from the Grant's Elite just because of the results. Like he did win 1, which was massive because if he didn't win that one, he would probably be considered bottom 4 in people's minds, just because he's had some of those years that just feels like he gets all the good players, but then they just don't work out. I'm trying to figure out who voted for Jarvis for the best. It was
Cole
and Parker. So respect, Jarvis. Congrats. You got the newbie who knows nothing about it, but you got 1 at least legitimate vote. All right. Sorry about that. We I don't know if Grant stitched us together or what, but our Zoom meeting ended because we don't have actual accounts. And then coming in next, we got Cole Bennett. I'm happy Cole's kind of getting some of the respect he deserves with this vote. Cole's been a pretty consistent, solid fantasy player. He gets a lot of hate just because he drafts a lot of college players. But the thing is, he knows college really well, and that helps him. I would say he makes playoffs 75% of the years at least.
Yeah, agreed. I think me and Cole's resumes are actually pretty similar, other than he has a championship and I don't. And then I'm just more active and like show that I try harder around draft time. I feel like that's one of the only differences between me and him.
Cole has that championship, and he also has the year before where he was absolutely dominant. Really similar to your year that you lost to Mike, unfortunately. Yeah. But like just dominant year. I mean, everybody wanted him to lose because of his name, and we're not going to go into that. But absolutely dominant year. Who do we got next? Oh, I'll announce it next because it's good old Jake Vassar, otherwise known as Rex. 6 votes, 50% of the league considers you a top 3 player without a championship. That has to feel good.
Oh, it does. But you know what would feel better? Having my name on the trophy.
That, I'm not going to argue with that. It feels great. You deserve the 6 votes. I believe I voted for you. Oh, actually, No, I did. I voted for Ethan, Jake, and Noah.
I'm taking notes on who didn't vote on me. Hey, actually, when this podcast releases, we'll release the list of who voted for who.
Should we? I think it's kind of fun when it's just like make people mad.
Okay, maybe. We'll see. We'll see what the league wants.
All right, who's next? Oh, it's me.
I will announce it. Up on the number 2 spot on the podium is Brandon Scott.
So 9 votes out of 12, and you got to think you can't get 100% because you can't vote for yourself. So I only have 2 people not vote for me. We'll have a chat later. Might be moving down in the priority of GG. No, I was kidding. But I'm pretty happy with that, especially coming off a pretty mediocre down year.
Yeah.
It's pretty horrible feeling last year. Like I kind of was like, no wonder some people hate fantasy because it did not feel good.
You've definitely been good, but like you haven't won since 2013. Like those years are pretty forgettable. And lest we forget, half the league doesn't even care about pre-GG4 because that's like modern GG.
I would say though, these votes are because I have 2 championships, but I would say I would pretty similar with you make playoffs almost every year.
Yeah.
I had a really strong year last year when I would have won the league if Josh Allen hadn't taken a knee. So don't laugh at that. That's painful. I definitely think that helps. Like that year kind of solidifies me and just being pretty good year in, year out. But agreed that those championships don't hold as much weight. And I think that's why Noah is voted higher.
Yeah. And that's number 1 gold medal for Noah with 10 votes. So
that means there was only one person that didn't vote for him. I'm gonna pull it up real quick.
I mean, I think Noah's the best in the league.
Who do you think did not vote for him?
Maybe Ethan for jealousy's sake.
Wait, did Noah vote for himself?
Yeah, Parker and Cole.
Cole.
Yeah.
So come on, Noah, voting for yourself, rookie move. So me and Noah actually are tied then with 9 votes.
Stat correction, that'll get you.
Just like Jake got stat corrected that one time.
Oh man, that was terrible. Don't even remember what it was about, but I'm still sad about it.
All right, moving on to the one root people really care about and brings a lot more fun. And again, this was for bulletin board material only, not meant for purposes.
I guess we're getting softer because before we sent this survey out, I said, should we really include this? Like, I don't want anyone's feelings to get hurt. But at the end of the day, it is fun. And like, even if people say you're bad, it's either for a silly reason or you're just the bottom of our league. That does not mean you're bad at fantasy. People thought John was the bottom and he won.
I'm going to go on a quick rant about that. If you're in the bottom 3, like let's say every single person voted for you in the bottom 3, which that didn't happen to anybody. But let's say you're in the bottom 3, minus Parker because we haven't seen him yet. You are a top 3 fantasy player in any other league you're in. Yep. You are a top 3 fantasy player. Like Jackson, like I remember one time I was talking to him and he was talking about, his friends league. He's like, oh yeah, I'm pretty much going to win this year. And he gave me his team and he was like 10-1 with most points for, and he was just dominating everybody. And this was 2 years ago when he was like very bad. And I was like, wow, I forget like how our league is so competitive that if you're bad in our league, you're still good at fantasy.
I mean, there's literally no one in our league where I'm like, they can't hang. Like everyone every year has a chance. Even it's like last year with the keeper situation in the draft order, Mike and Jarvis were at a severe disadvantage at the beginning of the season, still worked out for him. I think everyone's so good and active. So I think we've built the league up pretty well.
I would also like to see who had the most votes total. So like if you voted a lot of times for and worst, I think that'd be funny. But first we'll start off with the people that got 0 votes. While Grant only got 3 votes for the best 4, he received 0 for worst player. So that definitely is people acknowledging his fantasy knowledge. I got 0 votes, Jake got 0 votes, and Cole Bennett got 0 votes. So every other person, including Noah, who was voted the best, and including Ethan, who is just going to make mad, received votes. Ethan, I apologize if it feels like I'm picking on you because I'm not. I just know that these stats are going to absolutely outrage you. And if I were you, I would be outraged. So
for sure. I'm just so proud of Cole. Cole and Noah
Cole
are
receiving
both
0. If this is 2 years ago, maybe I don't know if that happens, but like people have just like he just consistently proved people wrong.
And people want Cole and Noah both to be bad. And every year we all have to acknowledge like, nope, they're good. They're good.
100%. Okay. Noah only received 1 vote.
I mean,
for being the worst player. Jake, fact check that real quick and see who
Yeah.
that was.
it was, if I was guessing, it was Cole. It was Cole Bennett. So
Okay, so probably more of a trash talk than the legitimate
yeah,
vote, but still funny. Tied for the amount of respect they got and tied for the amount of disrespect they got is going to be Ethan and Matt with 2 votes each to be the worst player. Oh, let's get a fact check on who voted for those 2.
2 people who voted for Matt were Brandon and
Oh no! Oh great, you're gonna have to bleep that one. Matt, me and who?
Brandon and Zach.
I
And
voted for Matt.
I guess so. And then the people who voted for Ethan were Noah. I mean, I would have guessed that one, and Parker. So, and I think both of those are just for rivalry's sake.
Yep, I would agree. So, I mean, Ethan probably doesn't have too much to be worried about with that one. I apologize, Matt. I must have been in a feisty mood when I was voting. I'm not going to reveal my other 2 votes or who I didn't or didn't vote for, but I definitely didn't expect that one to be me when you were reading that. Moving on, our next one, we make quite a jump, or not quite a jump, but so Jarvis comes in with 4 votes.
I mean,
I'm not going to lie. I don't think I voted for Jarvis. I'm actually pretty sure I didn't. But I do understand the vote. I mean, he had 1 season. The rest he's been pretty much bottom of the barrel.
yeah. I mean, I as the loser to Jarvis, the first loser to Jarvis, I could not bring myself to vote for him. I think he's great at fantasy. Nothing else to it.
How many do you think Jarvis gets if he doesn't win last year? He has 4 votes. I bet every single person votes for him. If he doesn't
I think he would be even with the person with 8 votes. They have the exact same resume.
Moving on to 5 votes. And, CC goes, a lot of people probably voted for me. He had that opinion. Like, he's like, I don't think I'm the worst, but I think I have that public perception. And Zach goes, there's no way I got more than like 2 votes. And Colin goes, 100% you did, Zach. Boss right there. And he's like, I voted for you, so I know he has at least 1.
Oh, good job for
Zach
self-awareness.
I was impressed. And sent Zach into a fury. Zach was not happy. He was like, there's no way I have more than like 3 votes. Like I remember him saying that. I was like, we'll find out.
I mean, I'm sorry, Zach, but you're just distinctly average every year. We call you boom bust, but you've been a lot more right down the middle in terms of overall. So
when I went on my rant about how the worst players in our league are good in other leagues, I mean, most of these people that are being voted for the worst, besides obviously Parker, who we don't because he hasn't played, but everybody else has made a deep run. Colin has been to 2 championships. Mike's won a championship. Jarvis has won a championship. Zach's been to a championship, and Ethan has won 2 championships. So all these people have either been or won a championship. So our league is pretty equal. It's just you have bad years the rest of your years, and you only have 1 or 2 good years.
yeah, and I think last year we went through the stats, and in the last 4 years, everyone has been top 3 at least once. So now I don't know if that's true now, or if I might be just making that up, but it sounds right.
Either way, I like it.
Everyone's had a good season recently-ish. So
all right, who's the next one?
Okay, at this point, if you're listening to this video and you haven't heard your name on the top worst players, you should be trembling in your boots. But up next is Mike, and he had 8 votes, which is tough. And I've been an advocate for Mike because I lost to him, so I have to be number 1. But number
Jake's
2,
a big Mike and Jarvis fan.
Yeah, but number 2, like he's battled back from some bad situations. I think when did he take over Jack's team, or did Jack take over Mike's team?
Jack took over Mike's team.
Okay, well, never mind.
I would say most of these votes are because he had that horrible season. He quit the league. Like, I mean, it just left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. And then it's not like he was exactly a world beater. Like, but besides the season, he won the championship, right? When he came into the league, he knew nothing about football. So it took him 3 years just to learn the players. Just 3 years enough just to beat Jake. So
yeah, and maybe if he doesn't draft only Michaels and Cardinals players, he might be good. So who knows? And then the person with the most votes here with the worst player, it makes me feel good about the league because it was Parker with 9 votes and he hasn't played a single game yet. So it's like that was kind of the easy default cop out. Like I don't want to dog on anyone. I'm gonna pick Parker because he's new.
And I think people know it takes a year or two to adjust a competitive league. Like anybody can play fantasy, but until you're playing with people who know what they're doing, you're not playing fantasy. So, I mean, I think Parker takes at least a year or two to get adjusted to how our league really works. And so I think that's why a lot of people voted for him, because it's hard to see Parker coming in here in the first 2 years. And this may be, a clip we play next year after he wins the championship and say, look how dumb Brandon was. But like, I can't see Parker coming in here in the next 2 years and winning the championship. It just seems like way too far out.
Do you know if he has any experience playing in PPR or with like a similar roster setting? Because like those kind of tweaks can completely change how you draft, how you pick up players,
I would bet money he hasn't played in a league that's exactly like ours. And I would also bet money that he probably hasn't played in a league that's as deep as ours in terms of how many positions you have to start, which is a big adjustment, right? When you're starting 2 receivers, 2 running backs, 1 flex, anybody can do that. But when you're starting 3 receivers, 2 flex, it becomes a lot harder really fast. Anything left on that one? We got 2 more questions left.
No, but I will say as a segue, the people with the worst voter or like with the most worst votes got pretty good responses on the dark horse to make the playoffs. So
this is a little weird because the chart only shows if you spelled it the exact same way.
Yeah, so that's why I was like, wait a minute.
So it looks like from looking at who is your dark horse to make the playoffs, I got 6 votes total for Parker. So while you were voted for 6, people do have faith that you could be successful in the league. And then Colin Christian received 3 votes.
Correct.
So I know Jake was one of them. He's a big believer in CC this year.
I'm an advocate.
Maybe it was publicly nicing him. I'm not sure.
No, I know CC's gonna think I'm doing that. And it's probably even worse than I'm about to say. This is a genuine compliment. Mike, in his response to the dark horse, said CC is due, and I think that's exactly right. CC's had good years. They've just been, I think, 5 years ago. Like he's been good before, and I think he can be good again. I mean, the only thing I don't really know what's made him bad the last few seasons. I know he's had terrible injury luck, but
I'll say that the dark horse votes were probably influenced by who you think's probably not going to make the playoffs generally. And so that's why Parker was such an easy vote, because like, if you're looking at a lot of the mid-table guys, Zach, like people that sit right there in the middle, they're not really a dark horse because they're always in the middle. You tend to look towards like the people that you don't think are going to make the playoffs. And I think that's why Parker received the most votes, but also the most dark horse votes. This is kind of an insult, I guess. I'm not sure who put this, but somebody put the dark horse to make the playoffs was Ethan. So that sounds like a Noah. And then,
no, it was you.
That was not me. Do not lie. You already got me once with the mat. That is not me.
I promise it's you.
He is lying. He is lying, Ethan. Do not listen to him.
And
oh no! Oh, Grant, you're gonna have to bleep that one. You his lies. I promise you. Not. All right. Next, Jackson stealth mode. I can't see what it says.
Stealth mode It says stealth mode Jarvis. So that was Cole rooting for his old rival in the division.
And then Michael.
Mike has 1 vote.
All right, moving down to dark horse to miss the playoffs.
I'll just read them off because they're all different. We will start off with Noah has 3 votes, and hilarious. Grant said he has a kid now. True. And then Ethan and CC actually also voted for him. We're just dropping names right now.
Somebody said misses playoffs most years, but Zach.
Oh, that was me.
Somebody said Jarvis, not really a dark horse, last to first, first to last. So someone's throwing some shade at Jarvis.
Yeah. Hey, who do you think? Who is Jarvis's biggest rival?
That's gotta be Zach.
Yep, it was. It was.
I love that rivalry because it's like just random, but it's so funny.
Yep.
Then somebody else voted Jarvis.
That was Parker. But Parker also put Jarvis is the best 3. So, okay, that makes sense. That checks out.
Somebody said Jake 1,000%. He's a broken Michigan boy this year. That's a horrible take.
That is horrible.
The only reason it could be not horrible is because maybe you overthink things, but you have so much time just to think about fantasy and engage and watch all the games. Like you're going to be good this
So yeah, huge updates. So I got a TV and I have YouTube TV now. Shout out Jarvis. So I will be watching the games and I will be doing all my homework. Now, the only thing that scares me is the last time I cared this much in a preseason before was 2018, I think, and that's the season I got 11th. So I won't lie. I'm a little bit in my own head already because I'm like, the last time I cared this much, I did terrible.
Ethan got 2 votes for Dark Horse to miss playoffs, and one of them says Ethan Chokemaster right. So I don't know if Ethan being that much of a choke master, but that just sounds like a Noah thing. Cole got 2 votes, one under CB, one under Cole. So people are thinking Cole's gonna have this down year after getting a lot of good votes, and then CC got 1. So that's actually, whoever said that was like a pretty. They were thinking CC like makes playoffs pretty consistently. So
it was you.
You're lying again, dude. You just.
I'm not lying. And
oh no! Oh,
you're a clown.
All right. Well, that's all the questions we have. Did you have anything on anything that we just talked about?
I don't know. I'm gonna pull up the draft order real quick and just to refresh for the people.
I could list it probably by memory. You want me to try?
Yeah, go ahead. I have it now.
It's definitely Noah, Zach, Matt, Mike, Brandon, Cece, Jarvis, Jake, Parker, Grant, Ethan, Cole.
That's correct.
When you've done the psychoanalysis that I've done on who people are going to take, you got it.
So about a couple weeks ago, I sent a message out with my predictions of who's going to take who, like as an overall draft strategy. And that was 100% just to get in people's heads. I think for Ethan, I said 0 RB because he tries it every once in a while. And now this year, he's like, oh, if they think I'm going to go 0 RB, then should I or should I not? And just trying to expose people's like tendencies, I think it's so funny and could lead to some serious chaos in the draft room, which I would love.
I'm very excited. We're definitely going to have some kind of Zoom call or probably more likely a FaceTime. We all have iPhones because we're civilized. We're all going to have something for the draft. So be on the lookout for the link. We'll figure out how to get that before.
Yeah. Do you know if anyone is doing like a local party? I'm sure people in College Station will get together and maybe people in Dallas. They're a little further away, but
the league's pretty weak without us. I have to say, I don't think they're going to be able to gather properly. But
I would agree with the statement of no one has put forth the effort to plan an in-person one.
I would say College Station is. I would say like Grant is like, hey Matt and Parker, you can come over, and then that's what's going to happen, something like that. But
yeah. But I as the board, I encourage everyone to try to do it in person because, come on, it's a lot of fun. It takes a little bit to drive somewhere, but the draft's the draft. It's awesome.
Oh, Jake and I are going to have a podcast right after the draft. It's going to be called 3 Players I Didn't Get, but I really wish I did, or something along those lines. We'll send out a survey right after the draft, and it's going to be, you get to pick 3 players that you're like, oh, I think they're going to be so good this year. And if you don't put them on that list, you can't say halfway through the season in a text message or on the podcast, oh, I really wanted Terry McLaurin, but I just he didn't fall to me properly when you didn't put him on your list. Like if these are your players that you think you didn't end up with, that you're like, wow, I think they're going to pop up.
That'll be a fun podcast, especially to look back on and just be like, man, did I really think that guy was going to be good? And then at the end of the season, thank goodness I didn't have him because he would have busted my team.
All right, Jake, I got one more question for you on the spot. You did not prepare for this. Every year, at least one team in the NFL goes from last place in their division to first place in the division. Which team do you, or you don't have to be your last, but which dark horse team do you think is going to win their division this year?
Who got last place in the NFC North?
That would be the Lions.
I was hoping you would say Vikings. Man. Oh, okay. Then my next 2 would be someone in the NFC West or AFC West. I don't know who got last in those.
It would have been the Seahawks, I'm pretty sure.
Nope, not going them. Let me look NFC West or AFC West.
I'll say mine. I would say the two most common picks are going to be either the Ravens. I believe the Ravens got last, or the Denver Broncos.
Oh, yep. So there's the AFC West. I would also go. I'm looking through all of them. Yeah, I'd go Broncos.
Did the Giants get last place in the NFC East?
Yes.
I'm gonna say
I'm
gonna say for mine the Ravens. I just think I just think that division is just so up and down. I think they're probably gonna have a chance to take first place in the division.
Okay. I'll go Broncos then.
All right. Well, we're boring, but it's all part of the fun.
So I'm not picking the Jags.
With that, I think Jake and I are gonna sign out from two-time Gametime Greatness champion and your VP. We would like to say farewell, like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
See you guys.